Hey folks, we're back again for another one of these videos. It's been a hot minute because we went and organised an actual show and then we were very tired. And I say we because finally I've managed to convince Keith to come and join me. Bear with him, he lives in New Zealand. It is very late where he is and it's nice and early in the morning where I am.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah,
say we do often have time zones that factor against us with these kind of
yeah,
things.
yeah. The fact that we are 12 hours apart and still manage to organise a car show is always surprising. But it is why you do sometimes get 24-hour support if you email us. So yeah, we're just going to go through a little kind of debrief, I guess, like what went right, what went wrong, what we can improve for Weekender. I think it's mainly great things, like we had a good time. But yeah, we can also talk perhaps a little bit about our different roles in this thing as well, so people kind of understand sometimes who they're talking to when they mail us. So to that point, let's just actually talk about that straight away. So the event is organised by both of us. The way I generally explain it to people is I do majority of the show stuff in like what cars we're going to have there, the clubs, retro parking, all of that kind of stuff, and then Keith makes sure that that can actually happen because without Keith there would be no site, no toilets, no facilities of any kind, no staff, no nothing. And he also nowadays deals with all of the trade stuff, which is why the trade stuff is so much better than it used to be because I'm not very good at that stuff. Is
I've
that
often
fair, Keith?
thought yeah, so I often think it's funny how we've ended up in this position. I always think of it in, I suppose, in quite a similar way that kind of like, I suppose I make sure that, there's a show there and you make sure that people come to the show that's there. But we kind of found ourselves in this situation completely by natural, osmosis and development. None of it was actually like there's ever been really. We've sat down and thrashed through it and said, right, you do this bit, you'll be responsible for this. Who such and such will report to you for these. It's just kind of naturally found a harmonious, yeah,
Yeah.
being.
I think it's funny when Keith used to live in the UK. He hasn't always been a New Zealander. And when we were running shows in the UK, you dealt with venues and stuff, majority. And then when you moved to New Zealand, I took that on. And then over time, it's kind of gradually moved back again. So when we first moved to Goodwood, I kind of negotiated all of that and went and visited. And same with like Shelsley. And then as we sort of settled in back into a nice rhythm, Keith's kind of taken back on the sort of dealing with the venue side of things. So, yeah, if you've got any complaints about venues, email Keith. If you've got any
Yeah.
complaints about shows, you're wrong. Because, but yeah, no, it's all good. So yeah, we just wanted to talk through. We haven't really done this ourselves. We've spoken a little bit, but like we tend to decompress after events. Keith went on a
I run
holiday to
away.
Port. Yeah. Keith went on a holiday to Portugal literally the week after, and then had jet lag for about a week and a half and a cold. And I
Yeah, I was
recently,
ill. And
yeah, you were ill. You're always
um,
ill after the
I was
shows.
ill. Yeah,
Um,
there's a reason for that. Have you
yeah.
noticed?
It might be a little bit of stress. And then I've just back from a holiday in lovely Mallorca. So now we are refreshed. We are hooking back together. We've got gathering, which we'll talk about gathering stuff at the end. That's all coming along now. But yeah, we thought it was a good opportunity to have a little chat about what went right and kind of what we want to improve next time. So I'm going to start, I think. I think the Saturday, it's interesting. So a little behind the scenes stuff. It used to be that Sunday was the much bigger day for Weekender. So it was 2 day event, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday was a much bigger day, and then we put a lot of attention into what we were doing on Saturday to, improve and entice people, so we could even them out, and we evened them
Yeah.
out. And then last year, I think it was the first time, the Saturday was bigger than the Sunday, and we were, oh, that's interesting. And then this year, the Saturday was bigger than the Sunday. Not hugely so. I mean, it's like I guess about 800 people bigger. So it's not like
Yeah.
massively
Yeah.
bigger. but because we can't park people on the track, it fills up the venue quite rapidly.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's that kind of. You're probably talking like 15 to 20% bigger, but because of the usable space compared to Sunday is less, you notice it.
You definitely notice it. It feels really full. So that was like definitely a positive from my side of things. Is that the venue was absolutely jumping on the Saturday, and I think that was nice. It's all when we do some negative stuff. There was also a negative aspect to that that we need to get better. But I've really loved the feel of that venue on the Saturday, and I want to make the Sunday feel like that as well. It's not a people volume thing; it's a where the people are thing, which is also interesting. And actually, that I think some more reasons to come on the Sunday might be something we want to have a look at for next year as well. I'm kind of keen to make that as desirable to be at as the Saturday is now, because we spent so much time on the Saturday making that better.
And I think there's still a lot we can do on the Sunday. It just comes down to, I suppose, which angles and avenues we want to kind of go down and explore.
Absolutely. How about from your side of things? Anything?
I suppose my big what went well, and something that I was really pleased to see was good, was the way we used what Good would refer to as the Richmond lawn, which is the grass area in that infield space next to where the track cars queue up Parc Ferme. We'd had a lot of conversations before how this year was likely to go, and we thought that the trade was going to be a lot bigger. So we intentionally divided effectively the retail and the trade separate from each other, and created a new space with the catering and with the kids area, and brought in a big top circus tent, and that worked really well. That space was real nice. Obviously we had a few, again, a bit of a behind the scenes thing, we had a few last minute problems thrown our way before that, which meant that the layout had to kind of be tweaked a number of times over the kind of Thursday, Friday. But it's still, come the weekend, it was a really good new space to be. I really enjoyed that area. I thought that came together really nicely.
Yeah, well, I was having a wander around at some point. I went in there. I was like, oh, this has worked out really well. I mean, there's always going to be more and better we can do, particularly when you're starting a new area. And I thought that kind of it felt good already, but when people are more used to it being there, and the way the event flows adjusts for it, I think that'll be absolutely first-rate space. I really liked it in there. It was very cool.
It's nice to have new spaces for people to find, and we always try and move things around everywhere anyway. But new things in new areas for people to kind of discover as they walk around, and that was a pretty big one. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny. It's gone from being a show that you could probably see everything in a day at to not being a show you can see everything in a day at.
Yeah, no way.
As well, and I think that's kind of as good. I mean, it's called the Weekender for a reason, and I think it has its own challenges in that you need to make sure everything is as easy to find as possible. Actually, that's kind of a thing I'd forgotten about. We had a brief pre-chat about some of the things that we might talk about, so we didn't end up stepping on each other's thoughts. And I'd forgotten we had an app.
Do there's other things we've forgotten about as well, because we did a hot sauce and had a special burger.
This is the thing. So we had these ideas that I mean, I've wanted to do an app last year, and I'm a computer programmer for a living, for those that don't know, and I was like, I'll program my own, and that's an insane thing, because it's really hard, and there's no way I have enough time for that. I don't even have enough time to organise the events without losing my mind. So I found via a podcast I listened to out about a company called Meliora, who do music festival apps, and I contacted them and said, reckon we could rejig this to work for us? And they said yes, and they were awesome, and we absolutely love those guys. They came to the event, like they're not car people as such, they just came to the event.
They had like a social, like a team bonding day, didn't they?
Yeah, there was like 10 of them there, and they had a great time. They loved it. So Yeah, that was brilliant. But yeah, that was really good to get together. We need to use that more. We need to use that better. But we kind of put it out there. We had, I think, 1,200 downloads of that, something like that, which is good. Yeah, like for the size of event we are, and for the fact that we're doing it for the first time, that's really nice. So we'll do more of that next year. We'll make better use of that. We understand the application better. So that's cool. And then the burger, Keith, if you want to talk on that. I know the hot sauce, well, the sauce was my original driving point, and then you just ran with it, which was great.
Yeah, and I think we wanted, the more we bashed heads was to kind of make it a bit more of an experience and a kind of go-to thing. So the sauce goes with the burger, and we do a decent thing, and then we get some nice beers and drinks to go with it, so that it's a combo, if you like. And by all accounts, that went really, really well. And obviously, Henry, who does our social media, he's a bit of a foodie. He said the burger was banging. I once again didn't get to eat from any of our caterers. It always seems to be the way. When I go around and talk to them, they all offer me food, and I'm always just like, I can't eat. There's just no way I can eat.
I could definitely eat, but every time I go and see them, the queues are enormous because I want to go and eat at lunchtime. So I end up having a slightly dodgy cheese sandwich from Sainsbury's or something. I'm very disappointed not watching everybody else eat delicious food that you've managed to put on, because you say Henry's a bit of a foodie. You are also of a foodie nature.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I always think these things are a bit like weddings. The thing that you walk away from and you really remember from a wedding is always the food, and it's like, oh, you want to go away and have a good experience, and the food's a big part of that for me. So we try and do good stuff. Did I bit of a private conversation, but the people you've been after us getting for ages, they finally responded to me the other week. So we might even have a new caterer to come in the mix next year.
There is a caterer that I have been after Keith to get for 3 years, I think.
Possibly longer.
They are basically my wife's main reason for wanting to go to Glastonbury. If we get them, there will be great excitement in the Murphy household. I may even actually have to queue up and get the food. And not.
I think it's nice to kind of switch it around. Some aspects of it every year as well. You don't want to go to, as with everything else with the show, you don't want to go to the same show year after year after year. You need to kind of move things around and bring some new stuff in and chop and change a few bits. So I think that applies to the catering as well as definitely. The car side of things.
I think what's interesting as well is because as the event grows, it also gives us opportunity to add and change as well as sort of chop and change. So it kind of it's like, we'll have a new area and we'll put something new in that new area. So it's always going to be different, as well as the fact that like anybody that's there's a few people that seem to be regularly in the deadline display. They're always building something, and that's moved a few times. It's got a little bit of a home on the that little grass area at the moment, although it gets a little bit confusing because some of the people we send up to be parked on the lawn park in the deadline area, so they take up a little bit of space there, and then we end up with a couple of deadline cars just sort of floating around. But that's fine. There's cool cars all over the place. But that's kind of that's a thing.
I feel like it's symbolic of the nature of that and our events. It's always a little bit ad hoc and a little bit kind of squeeze in where you can.
Yeah, a little bit laid back, I like to say. It was that side of the show has grown. So if you came along and you saw, we have the big trade area where we had us and our sponsors, which we might talk about in a minute, but the deadline area, and then beyond that is what's called the skid pan as far as Goodwood are concerned, which is where we had the lowriders lined up, and then all of that grass was retro parking. So last year, that was our overflow parking. So on the Saturday, when we started to run out of space, though we had some emergency calls with Goodwood, like, we've got more cars coming in, where can we put them? And they were like,
well, originally that was our trailer park still. That was still had trailers in it,
Yeah, it had trailers in it last year. And they were like, "Oh, you can use the grass in there." So we're like, "Brilliant, okay." We threw some code there, and then I went along in like late on the Saturday afternoon, and we'd basically filled it. There's still trailers everywhere, so that a lot of space had been taken up with trailers, but we'd filled that, and we were like, "Oh, okay, that's an interesting thing." So this year we were like, "Okay, we'll start our retro parking over there because it's a great place to get cars just in the venue and off the road," and we filled that like almost instantly, and then we filled outside of it, and then we filled the rest of the venue. But that for a little sort of behind the scenes from visitors, like last year that was an ad hoc. Oh god, we're running out of room, and this year we planned to use it, so that's why that space was sort of a bit better organised, a bit better run, and it connects really nicely with the rest of the show now. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. It gives us a good space. We can do more and different things with that space if we wanted to, because we'd seen how it folds into the venue and how the flow of people move through the venue to it. But yeah,
that needs some effort into it to make that into something, because it's a big open space.
Exactly. There's no like anybody that was over there. There's no flags or anything over there this year. And that was something I realised kind of when I was having a little bit of a wander later in the day, that we need to put some more personality in that space. Although luckily the Lowrider guys bring a lot of personality of their own. So,
and then this year though, our overflow became, I suppose, the grass area by the pedestrian entrance for trying to make it familiar and reference people. Did you go around there at all? Did you get around there? Because that became a super awesome little space, because obviously it was just retro parking, looking out over the track, and it's like if you got put around there and parked up there, there'd be a lot of reason just to sit there and just I'll spend basically a few hours right where I am. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's funny. I went around there. One of my highlights from the weekend, actually, I had to go and get Mark Huxley's race overalls for him so he could run his drag car, because he had to prep it, and he was like, "Oh, they're in the campsite." So I took one of our little golf carts and headed round to the campsite. And long-term retro ride person Rob Richardson, legendary, despite what he may think, car builder in the UK as far as we're concerned, had the white A110 Alpine, which almost won Car of the Year but didn't. Sorry, Rob.
I didn't even realise he was there.
I
didn't see Rob at all.
So I went up there with him, and I realised that as we were driving around, like there was loads of cars parked up on the thing. So we went off and got the race suit. And I didn't realise how much overflow we'd ended up filling up there, up on the Vant Straight. So I golf carted around again and went and had a look just to see what had ended up there. Because I figured it felt quite removed from the show, and I was hoping people weren't going to be too upset at being up there. And then when I got up there, I was like, "Oh no, this is pretty cool."
This is real neat.
It's probably annoying that you've got to walk quite far to the show and you're a little bit out of the way if you want to show your car off. But as a place to park your car and enjoy an event, absolutely first rate. If I could find a way to fold it neater into the show, I absolutely would, because it was really cool. Like you just sort of just cars up there, and it was a great spot and things zooming by. So yeah, on a nice sunny day, that was a good place to be.
Definitely.
So yeah, that was our overflow. So if you ended up there, you ended up in our overflow this year. So and there was quite a lot of cars up there, which was it gives us pause for thought for what we're doing next year.
So yeah, conversations are already underway as to how to squeeze more in next year and how to do things better, fit more cars in, make it run smoother.
Yeah, I think that's our thing. That's us and Goodwood's thing, is we have to have it running smoothly. And there were definitely some flaws in that from a gate point of view. It's really weird. Keith was on the gate this year, so often I end up on the gate, for at least outside the gate for a while, and Keith ends up dealing with tickets and stuff because that's sort of infrastructure kind of thing. But the ticket stuff we kind of got a bit more right this year, and Keith ended up outside and I ended up golf karting around the site, not putting out fires but just dealing with little bits and pieces as they occur, making sure everyone's got water, all of that kind of thing. And yeah, how was the front gate, Keith, on the Saturday?
At moments it was really fine and it ran really smoothly. There were other times where I had transit drivers literally trying to mow me down as they came down the wrong way down that one way system. Um, yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Yes.
There's certainly it's that thing. It just goes in peaks and troughs, like because you get like clubs, for instance, or mates all want to arrive together. You get a few bunches of them, and all of a sudden, that front gate, which can become a bit of a pinch point, gets busy fast. Um, and then there are other things that can happen there that just slow it down, and all it takes is for one person not to run through the gate super smoothly, and you've got a queue building up very quickly. And there are probably some things that we can do to try and alleviate or remove those kind of hurdles and stumbles. Um, but we were super busy in those early few hours.
Yeah, it's funny that it feels like absolute madness, and then when you look back on it, it's basically from 8:30 till 10. It's an hour and a half, and then it's done.
Yeah,
It's less than the length of most movies, but for that hour and a half, it's the most stressful thing because there's so many people arriving, and then it just sort of it does feel like it just stops as well. Like I've been out there and actually because I was going backwards and forwards past the gate, I saw it happen this year. Like I was parking up cars in retro parking. It was madness. It was madness. It was madness. And then like I got to one of my slight negative times was anybody that parked up on the bank or under the trees as you go into the retro parking, you turn left, and we park you up on the bank by the track or under the trees, almost back towards the entrance. I had too many cars coming around there, and I was losing my mind. And Dan from Roll Hard, if you're watching this, thank you very much. I went and collared him, and I was like, could you just stand here and tell everyone to turn right and not turn left, please? And I parked up all the cars. I swore at a Goodwood Marshal, which I apologise for. I didn't really mean to. I was just losing my mind. And then I went back towards the gate just to see how everything was. And that was it. There was no one there. It went from being absolutely madness. And then 15 minutes later, there was no one coming in. And there was just like one car here and there. And that's kind of how it goes. It's like a tap. It just sort of... It's like on full blast for an hour and a half, and then it just turns off. And everyone just sort of, like everybody that was on the gate can wander off and just leave the people there to scan tickets. And it's
I mean,
a really weird time.
It got really frantic at times because we were actually trying to adjust and tweak the flow of traffic actually at the gate outside with the cones and the way the cones were. That bit was pretty stressful, particularly when you're just running around pretty vulnerable, albeit with a high vis on, And like I said, there was that guy in a transit literally was just eyeball to eyeball with me, literally middle finger up, hollering "fuck you" at me as he came within inches, and he must have been doing like probably 50 by the time he reached me. He was tanking down there.
That's genuinely insane. Road rage is a real thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a few people that got caught up in. Well, certainly everybody got caught up in the traffic on the entrance. It is what it is. It's a car show, and there's a lot of cars arriving. We were sort of turning on and off. Like we weren't doing an official one-way system because apparently we're not allowed to do an official one-way system. But we did a bit of an ad hoc one just to like clear the road a little bit. And actually, sending car. I know it's probably annoying because you sat in traffic and then you're being sent down to another roundabout to come back. But actually, when we started doing that when it was busy, I'd see people like, maybe 10 minutes later, maybe a little bit less, like come back up. Like it wasn't actually that far. It just
made everything run so much smoother. And I think
from our gate point of view, it was so much quicker.
I'm sure that if you're in that queue, kind of trying to turn right into Goodwood, across the flow of traffic, it feels like quite a kick in the balls to be sent onward and to turn around and come back. But actually it probably it gets you in only a few minutes later, but it means the flow of that traffic runs so much smoother because you've got no one crossing the oncoming traffic, and and you can then pull people around and send people down, which is what we were doing.
Yeah,
Because of course you have got some people in there who aren't going into the show, um, and that just
yeah.
kind of made that a lot safer and a lot more viable. I don't know if you realise that something that really did impact it was the Mini who literally broke down outside the front gate,
Oh no, I didn't
and
know
it
about
was
that.
and the gearbox locked up, so we couldn't push it out of the way. So
Oh
he was
no.
literally sat there, and then he got like a couple of his mates or someone to try and help him, and I was trying to help him whilst juggle everything else. They were trying to get a jack out under the front. I'm trying to steal cones from places to put cones out because obviously it's really busy, and these cars are coming within like inches of these guys trying to move this car. Um, yeah, like things like that don't help.
No, it is a behind the scenes for you, and a lesson learned, and the thing I won't do next year. I was parking up club parking on the Sunday, and I was stood behind a car. You know how you do, come back, and the guy didn't stop, and he crushed my legs between me and another car, like properly as well. If he hadn't stopped,
Literally,
yeah, if he hadn't stopped at the point it stopped, it'd have broken both my legs. Like it was like bad.
wow.
Like yeah. Like if I hadn't have been there, he'd have smashed into the back of the car. Instead, he smashed into
That
my
might have
legs.
been a better solution.
Yeah,
I'd probably
yeah,
prefer that than you in a wheelchair.
yeah. That would have really ruined my Sunday. So yeah, that was a lesson learned to not do that anymore. When I didn't do it for the rest of the day, I kind of stood to the side and signaled people
Not
back.
parking. You start, nah, no more. I've had enough.
Yeah, no
Not
more
doing it
parking.
anymore.
I think I need some fake legs and just like put them there as like a little barrier just in case they do reverse. But yeah, like majority of people were fine, but that guy just decided to reverse into me and nearly kill me. Well, so that was great. I'm going to just run through a few things that have been on my mind since the show, and just wanted to share my sort of thoughts on them. So we do our themed paddocks Saturday and Sunday. So this year we had French Connection and the Honey I Shrunk the Car, and we do applications in advance on that, and we've done this in various different ways. We've done free tickets. We've done like you get a sticker if you get to it. This year we just were like, apply for it, get your ticket, come along and join us. And the reason we've changed up things is when we were giving away free tickets, we found that people didn't turn up sometimes because there's no value in it. Like
They've got nothing in it.
yeah, nothing. There's no commitment, and if you don't want to come, you don't come. It's like okay, fine. And then I had people after the event when we were giving away free tickets, like trying to buy tickets because they were like, "Oh, I came along and I really enjoyed it, and I want to buy a ticket." I was like, "Okay, the freeness is not a barrier, and actually, it's negative for us." And so that's why that kind of changed. And then so this year I overfill the paddocks because I know there's going to be some attrition. There's going to be some people that don't turn up for various reasons, and that's kind of fine. I account for that. So the maximum amount of cars I think I can fit in any of those paddocks is 50 cars because it will go around the paddock, in the paddock, and along the bottom, and maybe a little bit at the edge. So that's my absolute maximum number. And for the Honey I Shrunk the Car, that's what I had. I actually had literally, I think, 53 applicants, and they were small cars. So I was like, fine, pretty much everyone gets in. I think there were a few cars I booed out for size, but I had like 53 of the right-sized cars. So I was like, okay, this is going to be great. The French stuff was less, but then the not the minimum, but like the amount I actually want is 35 cars. 35 cars is a perfect display in those paddocks. There's a lot of room. You're not all crowded in. It'll look great. So 35 is so somewhere between 35 and 50 is the number that I'm actually looking for. And I think I had 40 odd something for the French car stuff. And they didn't all turn up, which I didn't expect them all to turn up. But on the Sunday, I had such a low number of French cars. I was actually disappointed with it. It was fine on the Saturday, but the Sunday, the number should have been much higher, and they didn't turn up, which was a disappointment. The small cars, broadly similar. Saturday was busier than the Sunday, but on the Sunday we pulled in a few more cars because they're themed. It's easy to go, oh, actually we can throw in some more minis, and we saw how busy it was yesterday, and we could have fit a few more cars in, so let's throw some more cars And Simon and Jody that operate the paddock side of things are the people responsible for that, and they do that very well. Yeah, so that was a little bit of a disappointment, and something I need to have a think on. I need to, like, the thing that makes people not turn up is none of the levers that I have pulled so far. It's not price, it's not tickets, it's not it being free, it's not having a sticker, it's not having a unique thing. So I did have someone come and ask for a sticker. They'd been in one of the previous paddocks last year, and they were like, "Oh, do we get a sticker this year?" And they didn't. And I felt bad then because I was like, "Oh, actually, we could have done." I didn't have the time. I would have done it if I'd have had the time, but pre-event was a bit more manic than usual.
That's another thing that can kind of fall into our, things that we need to delegate to the extra person. When the extra person,
we need
printing,
an extra person.
Yeah, just to handle just to help in that last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah. So Keith and I have been running events for nearly 20 years. We still are not really sure how to do them. And we improve
Fumble
things.
through.
Yeah, we fumble through. We improve things for ourselves each year. So this is stuff you don't see. Like, this is stuff that's not... It impacts the show, actually, but you don't see it at the show. Like, you come to the show, there's a bunch of cars, there's a bunch of traders, there's food, all of that stuff.
Stuff goes around the track. Woohoo!
Stuff goes around the track. It's all there. But before the event, we have to make sure all of that happens. And we've both, at various times, and I'm not even joking, been on the verge of nervous breakdowns before the event. I quit. I basically took a 20% pay cut at my day job in order to do 4 days a week, so I didn't lose my mind. It was either that or stop doing shows. That's kind of like... It is genuinely quite serious for the event, and we've got better and better. And this year, I thought we'd cracked it because we were both like, we got to like February.
It is worth saying. It is worth saying. It is essentially just you and I. Like, there are so many shows out there. There's a person or a pair of people or whatever at the top, but then there is actually either staff or there are just people they outsource almost everything to. Whereas we are literally you and I, and we deal with basically 95% of everything.
Yeah. The team. If team is the word, so the majority of it is Keith and I. We deal with absolutely everything, and then we have Henry, who is rather social, who is awesome, and he deals with our social stuff and sometimes helps with a bit of extra graphic design at the last minute. We have Ian that deals with the track about a month before, and then kind of on the day. If you've ever been on track, you'll have met Ian and Paul and Gillian and that lot. And then that's kind of it. Our graphic design is all outsourced. Different people for each event, but we use a guy called Chris, who is Vixel, VYXL, for Weekender, because that has a very involved graphic design. It's become more and more elaborate every time we do it. And then
his stuff's great.
And then we have 10/10 Creative, who are based in Pat, who is based in Australia, that does the gathering stuff with all the beautiful illustrations, and he is absolutely spectacular, and we love him to bits. So that's kind of it. Like, that's like at its peak. At its peak, the team is 4 people, but really the team is 2 people and some people handling kind of social media marketing and design. So it is just me and Keith. So, like, everything has to be handled by us. Both of us have other jobs and other responsibilities, so it's not a full-time job, and it can get on top of us. But this year. And by this year, I mean it sort of starts in October. But this year, we thought we were rocking, because we got to December and all of the camping had sold, so we were in a really, really good position, sort of financially. Like, financially, it's been a struggle the last few years. I think a lot of events have felt that, and we had to rearrange things this year for various reasons, not just financial, but actually it had a financial benefit the way we've done doing our shows and events this year. So we were in a really strong position come December. I'd like reprogrammed a bunch of the back end system, which made it a lot more efficient for me to work with it. We were rolling into February. We were looking pretty good, I think. We had strong sales.
We,
And
I think February, March time, we were feeling like almost like, oh, we could do the show tomorrow. Like I think we actually
absolutely.
said those words.
I think there might
we're
be a
so
WhatsApp
ready
chat.
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I feel like I could do the show tomorrow and be like, oh yeah, like, like all the stuff that you book in advance, instead of booking it in advance in kind of February, March time, we'd just done October, November. And
Yeah.
so you came out the other side of kind of Christmas and it's like, oh yeah, like we're well ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then at the beginning of April, and this used to be my massive stress. I used to last year I took a week off at the beginning of April because I was losing my mind doing the shortlisting for the paddocks. Now, I hate saying no to anybody that wants to display a car. Do not use that to your advantage now that it's out there. But I used to hate shortlisting cars. And because I rebuilt my system and I made it much easier, and actually the themes were quite strong this year, it was quite easy to shortlist. And I put if you got a rejected email, it's not a rejection. It's just you can't. You're not in this paddock. I have a reason in there, and I think that's important because like if you've applied for a show, you've applied generally in good faith, and if you're being told no, I think it's on us to make sure that you understand why that is. And having put that in there has really made that relationship change. I feel like confident now if I can say to you, you're not in because of this reason X, Y, Z. I've at least got that out there. It's not just a no. Anyway, so that was much better.
I think it's nice that you do that, by the way. I think that's real good. Yeah.
I feel responsible for people. And it's generally not about the car. Like it's about the theme. And sometimes it's because we've got like I want 40 cars. I can't have 20 of them be the same car. I mean, it was pretty close to that with the minis this year in the small paddock, but that was kind of inevitable. But like, I couldn't have had like 70% of that be minis and then a handful of other cars. Like we struck a reasonable balance, and that was just like that. That's one of those examples where something might be suitable that I'd say, oh, actually no, because. And then I just have to pick, and it literally is just me picking. There's nothing more in it. If you ever apply for a paddock and you get rejected, just remember it's just me. Like it's just my opinion, and that's rubbish. Anyway, so we were all on top of things. I don't know whereabouts it went wrong for you, but mine started to sort of. I never got to the peak of stress that I did last year. Last year, I definitely had a couple of absolute meltdowns. Not as bad as the year before that. I'd improved last year, and this year I didn't get to that point. But I thought I wasn't going to have any weeks of that level of stress, and I got pretty close to it. But I think you went way past it this year. I think you found it.
Yeah, this year was. Yeah, this year was. I want to say tough, but it wasn't. It was horrible. It was really horrible. But again, it's like. That's all happened in April. So you're like, in the final 3-4 weeks of everything. And I think that some of that comes from just how everything ramps up towards the end. So that even the stuff that you've booked well in advance, you've got to kind of touch base with everyone and make sure that everything's correct and anything that you were anticipating requiring hasn't increased and that kind of thing. So you've still got to kind of touch base with everyone. And then you've got, for me, there was the knowledge that we had, we'd moved where the campsite was going to be and how that would shift across. Because all that has to go, basically all that stuff arrives before we arrive. So we're not in charge of siting it, connecting anything. We kind of just deal with the problems when we arrive if something isn't correct or over the weekend. And so that was kind of stressing me because I suppose I didn't have full control over that, and that always bothers me. And then it's the cumulative kind of toll of all the communications and everything else that fell together. Particularly, there's a lot of things we need to do last minute, a lot of which is around printing and making sure there's clear signage for people and it's in the right places and it's directing traffic in the right ways and what have you. Obviously, there were some internal changes at Goodwood, which meant that we had additional kind of curveballs thrown our way in those last 2 weeks, which the little things were taking up too much time. In a nutshell. And when you've got a fixed date when everything has to be done by, I've got flights booked, so I'm flying um, a week before the event. Um, so I've got a week less than you. Um, it just kind of built up, and it was very stressful. There were too many fires to fight in the last 3 weeks. Um,
Yeah, I think that's kind of what happens. You try and clear the space, so you know that's going to happen. You try and clear the space so it's going to be possible to deal with it, and then there's either too much or you haven't quite got everything done. So then you're trying to do two things at once, and it all gets a
I
little
mean,
bit too much
we
sometimes.
have had similar conversations before, and we'd spoken about like the need for someone to help with admin in that final kind of month. And so, I mean, if anyone kind of emailed in that last month, there's a high chance they'll have got a response from Sarah instead of either you or I, because um, she responded to pretty much all of the ticketing
Yeah,
queries, changes, amendments in that last month,
yeah. I
which
mean
helps.
yeah, definitely. I think one of the things I usually struggle with is the media guys. Hello, media people, if you are out there. Um, it's always been a bit of a thing that's ended up last minute. Anybody that's ever applied for media and got it will know that. It's like about 3 days before the event, they suddenly get an email that goes, "Yeah, sure," and then here's a ticket. Um, Whereas this year, I made my list. I liaised Bella, and then I emailed all that to Sarah, and she dealt with it. So Sarah is kind of like the extra member of the team this year, certainly in the last month or so. I think,
Yeah,
and we'll probably do that earlier. And I think they're spreading out a bit of work earlier. So everybody that's watching this, that's expecting a better event next year, you will get one because we will be less busy.
it's
So
always
we'll
the
be
aim.
able to always be able to deliver a better event. Okay, cool. We are going on for a long time, and that's fine. This is now turning
I
into a
think that's
podcast length. That's cool.
Yeah, I do think that's something we realise though, that if you and I can outsource more of like the admin side of things, that actually it doesn't need our eyes over. We can spend that time um, making the show better, or doing the
Absolutely.
stuff that really we should be doing.
Yeah, it means that I can have more conversations around interesting displays and stuff. So I'm actually that segues beautifully, Keith. Well done. You're a pure
Just
professional with this.
toss
Um,
that ball up for you to hit.
Lovely. So yeah, I just want to run through actually what having said that some of the paddocks were lighter than I would like them, and I still haven't got a proper solution for that. What I will quickly talk about is the displays we had, because we had a lot of stuff going on this year. We had so when we do the graphic design work, I have to give Chris a list of the sections, and we have to decide on the theme and what the graphics are going to be, which is a lot of fun. It's a bit of the event I really enjoy. And there were 19 different things in that list, which is quite
Yeah,
a lot of things. And I was really pleased with absolutely every last one of them. So I'm just going to run through them briefly. The Detonators Car Club turned up in force. There was one point where Langley, who is a very lovely person, was be like, "Oh, I might be able to get about 7 cars together." And then the week before the event, he was like, "Oh, we got 15 cars." I was like, "Oh, great! I've put a space for you for about 7." Okay,
they were
but
awesome.
anyway, they were awesome. They filled up that space. We got them on the track. They went around the track. Absolutely brilliant. Kaido racing stuff. Similarly, I knew we had sort of 5-ish, and then we ended up adding a few more, and actually getting those cars together. Like, a lot of the people that own these things know each other, but there are a bunch of people there that I've never met before, didn't know their cars. And similarly, there were cars there that hadn't been out before, so we were having that was a great time. That looked great as well. Throwing it together with the Jetsuki mopeds, who we managed to get out on the circuit more than anyone else. Amazingly, they
Did
went,
we?
yeah, they went all the way around the track. So my plan for them was to run them down the backwards down the the track and then out the gate, like we did with the Kaido racers and the Lowriders. But because it was lunchtime and it's supposed to be quiet, and we'd already run the Kaido racers and the Lowriders, they ended up being taken around the circuit. So yeah, the shots of like.
I bet they love that.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Mopeds wobbling their way around the circuit, brilliant. So yeah, we're really pleased with those displays. The Toyota guys on the Saturday it was busier than the Sunday, and we knew that was going to happen. And we didn't actually. Usually, we can refill displays from the gate, and there just wasn't quite enough coming through the gate to make that as full as I would have liked it. But again, we live and we learn. We'll try some different stuff next year. And then the club display this year. Often we have clubs that don't turn up. I had a big problem with the club display in when they'd laid out the bales, so that I have to make a bale map before the event, and I get there on the Friday and I go and look, and I'm like, oh yeah, all the bales are in the right place. And then on the Saturday, I go and put the club signs on all of the bales, and I find I'm short an entire row, which is about 30 odd cars of space, which is problematic when you've kind of pre-arranged where everybody's going to be, and you sent them the map for the first time ever. I sent the map out to everybody before the event, and then to get there and it to be different, which is why I don't usually send the map, so we can rearrange things. We solved that thanks to Datsun Club and Kentish for accommodating that. There was sorry guys, I can't remember your name, but there was a club that ended up slightly disjointed. We had to move sort of 3 or 4 of their cars off. And the Datsun guys ended up with sort of 4 or 5 of their cars, big up Preet and those guys, just in a slightly different space. But we got there, it wasn't the disaster it could have been. I was quite stressed about that at one point. But on the positive, all the clubs that said they were going to turn up turned up, except for one, which was the one I put right on the very end. So, which I kind of had an inkling wasn't going to turn up because I didn't recognise the name. So we did. The club area was great. The paddocks were great. CSCC guys, I knew they were going to have about 15 cars, and then a few of them would leave because the race cars always leave on the Saturday once they've done their track time. I asked them to stay.
Always annoys me.
Again, it is what it is. They knew it was going to happen. We already pre-arranged to put some more cars in there. I think Simon tried to make like a mini red room. Just off.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. If you look at the photos or the videos, there's like a load of red cars, and then there's one black one in the middle of it. So I think he was trying to make a red room, and then someone just parked a car in the middle of it, which is cool. It's quite good fun. Like, I don't mind that stuff. In fact, I like that stuff. I like the creation of displays just on the day. So yeah, it was all the display stuff worked great. The lowriders were brilliant.
I know we're going on, but just thinking of that paddock and the CSCC and everything, like the Jimmy's kind of pop up in there was super cool, and all their stuff looked awesome.
Yeah, I think that whoever it was that made the comment after the event that they were 87% sunburn and 98% Jimmy's coffee, I think summed up the weekend for a lot of people.
I have a feeling I was the only person who didn't actually get a sample from them.
Yeah.
And you, because you don't drink coffee.
Yeah. But yeah, Charlie was. So my wife runs the merch stall, and she was watching them, and they'd come out with a box of coffee and then open it, and then just like a zombie horde of people would descend and just take it all and then disappear again. Everybody's clutching their coffees. But yeah, Jimmy's really embraced the event. So we got sponsors, proper sponsors. Well, like Keith did all the work on that. We got some proper sponsors this year, building off of the work with Bilstein last year, and I was really impressed with that. I think that all of the sponsors embraced the event, and I think it was good to see. I think people that came to the event embracing them. We don't just, we're not just after anybody with random amounts of money. Like there's a bunch of brands that we could approach or have approached us that we're just like, oh no, that doesn't work for who we are and what we want the event to be. And the ones we had this year really got it. I think they really understand what we're about. So we're very happy with those relationships. I think I would like to carry all of them forward if any of you are watching.
They were They were super, yeah, like you said, it was really good that they kind of got in the spirit of things, wanted to get involved, and it wasn't just a case of kind of, oh, let's like, here's some of our advertising kind of budget, kind of go and promote us on social media or on emails and stuff like that. It was actually, let's kind of, what can we do, what can we bring, and what can we kind of add to the event to do something neat? Because yeah, that was cool. The Jimmy stuff was real nice, and obviously Ava had the detail bay, which was
Oh, that
by
was
all
brilliant.
accounts went down real well, and so that worked real nice. It's a good spot for it too.
Yeah.
Um,
And then
so
Yeah,
yeah,
Billstone, and then Pulsar Turbos. Pulsar Turbos are sort of kind of like a lightly
friends of
sponsored
the
friends of the event, but they wanted to support
yeah,
us, and we really appreciate that. Oh, and talking similarly, the garage showcase stuff, which was a new idea we had this year. So I had an idea, and then Keith ran with it, and it worked out really nice. It was it was difficult to explain to people before we actually did it, but we had an idea in our head, and it basically came out like that. It sort of pretty much worked how we thought it would, and I'm really excited to do that again next year. But yeah,
and there's definitely more we can do there.
oh, absolutely. But massive thank you to Valley Gas Speed Shop, Old Bones Fabrication, and JDM Garage. JDM Garage kind of like straddled a retail and a garage showcase space. But yeah, having the Jun R32 there was my original reason for going and talking to JDM Garage, and they really embraced the event. They brought cars, they went out
They
on
were great.
track. I loved them. They were
Yeah,
great. And obviously, Old Bones and Valley Gas we love already. And Valley Gas really flexing by having one of, what's her name? Earl March, Lord of March, had one of
yeah.
his cars there. So, yeah. We are always impressed by what they managed to pull out of the bag. So yeah, the displays brilliant. The radio control space as well. I keep on wanting to build more and more on that, but never quite managed to work out what to do with it. But the guys that run it, so the two Marks and Rich that run that space, and then all the guys that do the RC drifting and everything, they make that space great every year, and I really want to do more for it over the next sort of year. So if you are involved in radio control cars in some manner, feel free to hit us up with any ideas you have. We would like to do more small scale business. Anything
Yeah.
particular out there you enjoy? Oh my god, sorry, the drag cars. Now,
That's something we should have spoken about before
yeah.
now.
So at the beginning of this conversation, when I said I deal with the display stuff, generally that's true, but we were discussing earlier in the year. I was like, I'm not sure what I want to put outside the garages, and I said I kind of been trying to pursue a few people with interesting collections of cars, and they're difficult to get hold of. It's like difficult to get people to commit to this ridiculous idea. And then Keith, who is has a history with drag racing, was like, well, why don't we try and get some drag cars there? I was like, okay, there's an angle on that, and there's like a depth to it as well. Like it's a thing we can do more than once,
Yeah.
and it's we have connections in that area. So that's kind of it was Keith's idea to do the drag cars, and then I spoke to Rachel and Graham Smith, who had the black Chevy, about doing street eliminators, and I spoke to them just as they were off on holiday. I say off on holiday. I think they were going to Speed Week or whatever it is in the States where they.
Yeah, they're going to the States for.
Yeah. And that conversation kind of fell away, and then I was like, okay, I still want to run with this, and then I popped some emails to some friends of ours, Charlie Custom and Classic, Charlie Seawood, Mark Huxley, and then Mark knew a few people, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And I had like sort of a handful of cars there, and I was like, right, that's fine. And I spoke to Wayne Allman, and I thought, oh, this would be fine. This would be 5 or 6 cars, it'd be fine. And then Rachel got back in touch with us. Was like, oh no, we're still interested. Like, let's do this. And then they arranged kind of everything. So we had Mark and Charlie come along, and then the rest of the cars were arranged by Rachel, and it was brilliant. Well done, Keith.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant
And
idea.
I think one of the things we've always tried to, I suppose, dip our fingers into little other areas of motorsport and kind of bring it to Goodwood, particularly stuff that doesn't really belong there, which is the kind of why the drag racing was just such a logical thing. And because of the Street Eliminator series, it's like, oh well, some of these are street legal. Wouldn't it be cool to send them down the start finish line of the start finish straight of Goodwood, and the picture that would make, and it would just be a big smoky burnout in front of where everyone's viewing. It would be cool. We knew that wasn't going to be that easy to make happen with Goodwood, and that was obviously kind of how things unfolded. Was just trying to take what was going to be a static display at one point to then be a moving kind of theatrical moment. And I think even when we got to the venue, even probably as late as Friday, we didn't know if we were going to manage to have burnouts down the straight or not. And I don't know when I don't know when that noise testing took place, and I don't know when they got the okay. All of a sudden, someone just told me that it had happened. I didn't even see it happen the first time.
Yeah, well, that was even nuts. So I got told it was going to happen. So I was running around, sort of doing the parades, and actually that's a thing that we can definitely improve next year. Is like the communication around the parades. Like we knew they'd have to happen around lunchtime, but the actual literal time they were going to happen was an unknown because we'd never done it before. Really, in that volume, we'd never had three parades. We did a Lowrider Parade 3 years ago for the first time, and I think that we really wanted to do more of that because we liked people see cars moving. So I was running around organising that stuff, and then I parked up our Toyota and I headed back through the tunnel, and it was before the Kaido parade. So I'd gone to the car to check that it was it was working and it would start because we don't use it very much.
I'm glad someone did.
I came back through the tunnel to just check on everything, and I was told, they're going to run the drag cars before the CSCC session. I was like, oh, okay, that's happening then. And I saw the first set run, absolutely spectacular. And I was like, oh, brilliant, we did it. I was really excited for that. I was really happy we did it. It looked as great as I thought it was going to look. Little tick in my head. We'd done that because I'd gone and got the. That's when I had to go and run and get the Mark's suit. So I knew it was happening. And
of course, yeah.
So then in the afternoon, I'm sort of bobbling around the site dealing with one thing or another, and I hear over the tannoy that they were running again. So like we managed to get them to run twice, and we didn't even think we were going to get them to run once. And I was just like, that's spectacular. And I thought because they're running again, we're going to get even better photographs and better video, and we did. We got like I had a photograph in my head of what I wanted, which was facing kind of down the straight with the Goodwood grandstand stuff in the background and a drag car doing a big smoky burnout down the straight, and that is exactly what we got from Imar, who was our official photographer. I hadn't told her to go and get that; she just knew in her head that that's where I need to go and stand. So yeah, I am hugely happy with that. That was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, giant success, that whole display and activity. Definitely.
That was brilliant. I was also like, again, because the show's so big, the NSRA had a great little space. So I'd given them, there's a thing called Gasoline Alley, and it's a difficult space to work with at Goodwood because like the flow of traffic is a bit weird. And I was like, right, you guys have this, do with it what you can, and then we can improve on it like year on year if you like it. And I really liked what they did. They put like one of the more outrageous rods at the front, which drew people in, and then once you got in there, they were spaced out really nicely. But yeah, so thanks to those guys for embracing that area. I've had an email from them. They were a bit like, we could do more, or we would like to be moved, one or the other, which is kind of like the result of that area. It's an odd area to work with. And then opposite them, we had the Heritage Skills Academy, who, to me, were really important to have there. And I hope whoever went and saw them kind of understood what they're about. But I think that the next generation of metalworking is coming through those guys. And they also do courses for us old people as well. So they do one-off courses. You don't have to be an apprentice. You can go and just improve your metalworking skills.
It's nice to have someone like that present who just, it's not all about, showing stuff or looking at stuff. People who are getting hands-on but maybe don't have the experience in it can kind of have a conversation with someone, if nothing else,
Yeah, I mean, like, ultimately our show is about people that build cars. Like, it's a community thing. It's not a brand thing. It's like Retro Rides is a community. We're not there, whilst we do sell t-shirts, we're not there to sell you a t-shirt. We're there to get you to go and buy and build a stupid car. Like, that's our whole point. So having someone there that can help with those skills, because all those people that work at the nice restoring company and everything, they've all got cars, they're all doing things. And it was great to have those guys there. I'm sure I'm missing out various bits and pieces of the show, but we are going to run on forever if we don't sum up. So I'm going to quickly ask Keith what his absolute highlight of the event was.
I think I briefly discussed this with you before we started recording, that I really struggle to remember the moments of a weekend. So there's bound to be loads of things that I really liked. Like when we were talking about the drag car stuff, like it kind of gets blurred into the manic weekend that kind of takes place. But obviously for me personally, this was the first time Sarah, who's my partner, helped us out with the stuff beforehand, and then kind of came across and was actually kind of with us on the ground, doing the event with us. Very much out of her normal kind of comfort zone and wheelhouse. And Ian lined her up with Thomas, who's kind of became our kind of honorary guest car passenger ride giver for the weekend in his grey Toyota Starlet, which she's kind of got memories of those vehicles kind of over here, and my mates had those when I was young, kind of thing. And that thing's quick and he can pedal, and she had an absolute blast. So that happening was certainly one of the highlights for the weekend for me. That was wicked, and his car's wicked.
Yeah, his car's amazing. We got we're doing the official video at the moment. In fact, we hope to get it finished this weekend, but we will see. And there is a shot of that coming around the chicane on 3 wheels, because it's just absolutely belting. Figures. It's so fast. I don't know. I had a weird thing. So we do the awards, which is always vaguely chaotic, and we embrace that slight chaos of the awards, and we enjoy it for what it is. And then, because I'm doing the awards, I put my radio and my phone in the merch stall. My sister and niece run the stall in the afternoon. It's all a family affair, this whole event. And I left my phone and radio with them, and whilst I go and do the awards, because I don't want anything going off while I'm on a microphone. And then I'd completely forgotten about them. So I did the awards, and then I was like, I'm going to go and have a look at I'm going to go and speak to Valley Gas, and I'm going to check with Old Bones, make sure they're having a good time. And then I just sort of wandered off after that, and I spoke to a chap called Mike Ashley for a while, who is a very lovely chap who has raced in Quick 60 with us, and had the black Suzuki WizKid special saloon that was there, which he recently bought. And I chatted to him for a bit, talked about Aston Martins, because he has a couple, and that was just nice. It was nice to go to my own event briefly and have a natter to someone about something that wasn't my event, if you see what I mean. Like, it was just kind of talking like I would speak to someone who had met at a car show, and then I just had a bit of a wander round, like not judging, not having no agenda. I just had a bit of a wander. So we always build the show that we would like to go to, but we don't really get to go to it because we're busy organising it.
I think I should.
I got to go to it.
I'm going to drop my phone and radio in the merch tent one year. Oh, I just put it down.
Yeah, it's like no one was trying to get hold of me. Another highlight: we got the John Surtees Ferrari there. That's insane. So I haven't got it here, but I saw that in Classic and Sports Car magazine, and I was like, I want to get that to my show. Who do I need to speak to get that to my show? And then I did a little bit of research, and I found one of our regulars worked on that car. So I WhatsApped them, and I was like, do you know the guy? He's like, oh yeah. It's like, I look after that car still. It's like up the road from me. He said, I can bring that if you want. And he did. That's what happened. That's amazing.
That's so cool.
I was so thrilled when I arrived on Friday and we were parking that in front of the merch stall. Absolutely, yeah, that was a highlight. Yeah, that's my highlight. I think maybe, yeah, that one. Okay, cool. Right. Briefly, next year there'll be some changes. We don't know what they're going to be yet. We haven't had our debrief with Goodwood. Whatever they are, we'll be doing them in order to improve things. So we know there was some toilet issues on the campsite. That kind of came about, as I understand it, Keith, from just a slight miscommunication with a new provider. We've solved that now. Next year, it's going to be magic. It's going to be better than your bathroom at home.
Yeah, without a doubt, it was better than your ones at home. Well, it's a stretch for a campsite lavatory, but we'll give it a shot. Yeah, there was certainly just some cross wires with who was responsible for certain things, and some paperwork just was edited incorrectly, and unfortunately, it was not up to what we would like to have delivered. But I think we've got that well and truly in hand for next year.
Yeah.
I've literally been speaking with them, as you know, for like the past 2 or 3 weeks, just to kind of get everything nailed down already. So that should be better than ever,
Cool.
ideally.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then, and some more accessible showers as well is the other thing we're looking at making sure we add.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Make sure our accessible facilities are kind of up to where they should be.
Yeah. So yeah, we listen to feedback in that regard. The one thing I think that may change, and I'm not categorically saying this, so don't run away from this thinking this is definitely going to happen. But there is a world in which we may end up pre-booking the Saturday retro parking, which is what we used to do. Like way back when we started the show, we used to do that, and then we stopped doing that. But because we are having capacity issues, being able to plan that might be better. But that is then fraught with the same issue that we have with paddocks, in that someone could book a space and then not turn up, and then we've got a bunch of empty space. So we have a think on that. But there's a possibility that'll happen. I'm hoping it won't. I'm trying to avoid that. But we will see what goes on.
Yeah, it on one hand it could make things a lot smoother, but on the other hand it might not really solve those problems, because it doesn't guarantee which gate people will arrive at first, which is obviously what we're ultimately trying to kind of get a handle on.
So yeah, there'll probably be some changes. There's always going to be changes because we change the event every year. But I already know, I'd say probably about 80% of the display stuff. I know what the paddock's going to be. I know what the display outside the Goodwood garages is going to be. I know what some of the ancillary displays around the site are going to be. So yeah, I am. It's going to be a good show. I can guarantee you that. I'll tell you what else is going to be a good show. The Gathering at Prescott.
I forgot we were going to talk about that. We're over an hour gone at the moment. You might have to edit this right down.
If you're still watching this, you are a legend. This may end up being a podcast as well. So yeah, just very briefly on that. We've done a video, covered all the reasons we're moving to a more intimate venue, doing a slightly more intimate, slightly more exclusive, but without the VIP association that exclusive has, slightly more intimate event. At Prescott, we are thrilled to be back there. It's going to be a really good time.
I can't wait. I love that place. Absolutely love that place.
When I went to visit, I was like, oh yeah, this place is really nice. It couldn't fit our shows in, but it's really nice. So now we're doing a smaller show, it's going to work. And I've got, at the moment, I think 10, maybe 11 guest cars, which I'm running through with Prescott just to make sure we can run them all. The list is great. I'm excited by that list. So beyond the rest of the show being a retro rides event, like how cool they are and how much we enjoy them and how laid back and enjoyable they are, and beyond running the hill for sort of run what you brung type stuff, The applications will be open in July. Stop asking me when they're going to open. They're opening in July. The guest cars are looking really good. I'm really, really pleased. There's some familiar faces there, and there's some people that haven't been to the event for a while, and there's some new faces there as well, and there's some cars that I've been after for nearly 20 years to come to our events that are coming.
Yeah, hopefully there should be some good surprises in there, and hopefully the plan is to have stuff that's a surprise and all comes together last minute that we don't even have time to announce, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. That there will be stuff that will be at the show that will be unannounced,
and it will blow your mind.
And it'll blow your mind. And you're at the show because you want to be at the show, and then we throw some extra spice on top of it. We'll also probably be doing that for Weekender next year. So I have conversations going on of stuff that I know in my head that I will not announce before you arrive at the show next year for Weekender, because I really like that idea, because the show is good enough, and then we're going to sprinkle some.
I feel like you're actually saying that to me in this instance as well.
Yeah. There was there is a conversation. There are conversations being had that I will probably not be telling Keith or Ian or anybody about. And then I just say we need this space. And some cars will arrive on the Friday, and then you can enjoy them. That's my plan. We try to entertain each other as well and ourselves. We do these shows. It's a small team, and we have to find things to enjoy within them. And despite the fact that Keith never gets to eat the food, he always put on a good lineup of food. And I think partly that's because of your enjoyment of that. And it's the same as the display stuff for me. Like a lot of the stuff, like that Ferrari, I put that on because I wanted to see it. I didn't care if everybody who came to the show just didn't give a toss about that. It doesn't matter to me. I got to sit in that car. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually a good handle though. Like if you and I are going to love something, then the odds are that everyone else is going to love it too.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely true. Except maybe my music taste. Right.
Yeah.
We are now nearly an hour and 15 in. We should probably knock this on the head.
There's 2 podcasts.
Show video, as I say, in the works for Weekender. Go and buy your gathering tickets. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. And yeah, expect more of the same but better for next year's Weekender, I believe. We'll do some more of these videos. You'll see Keith again.
Yeah. Hopefully.
See how long they go on next time.
We're all right when when you're in summertime and I'm in wintertime. The clocks are a bit more friendly.
Yeah, that's true. Right, thanks, folks. We will.
Thank you.
No worries.